Frank Henenlotter is a writer and director of cult classics who took his inspiration from the 42nd Street's New York movies of sexploitation and exploitation. In 1982, Frank came into my life with his insane basket case, Where You Meet Belial, and Frank would follow this up with 2 other sequels. In 1990, Frank would release his next insane, bonkers cult classic using the backdrop of the seedy and energetic energy of the streets of New York. He would deliver his homage to Frankenstein. So enjoy the show. But before I go, you want a date? Got any money? Looking for some action?
How about if I stick my tongue down your throat?
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action? Need some company? Got any money?
This is Angel. Amber, you already met. Anise.
Our story begins in Hohokus, New Jersey, as creepy neurotic Jeffrey Franken, a young employee at New Jersey Electric with an obsessive passion for bioelectricity, spends a sunny afternoon dabbling with kooky experiments like this bizarre living monocular brain to disappointing results. As an amateur scientist, Jeffrey fancies himself a Bio Electro Technician.
Whatever that means.
He's odd, but somewhat charming in a quirky way. His fiancée, Elizabeth, is a young and naive woman who loves Jeffrey enough to put up with his compulsive, odd behavior. With the promise of an abundance of hot dogs, Elizabeth drags Jeffrey out of the kitchen and into the proverbial fire that is her father's birthday party occurring in the yard. Elizabeth has quite the surprise for her father on his special day. The gift of a special lawnmower that Jeffrey had rigged with a special remote using his unique set of skills. Elizabeth happily demonstrates the device with extreme enthusiasm, but carelessly remains standing before the mower's sharp blades, causing the machine to turn the birthday party into a bloody mutilation, her body eviscerated like an exploding piñata. From this point forward, Jeffrey slowly descends into a compulsive madness. Calculating, theorizing, planning. His attempt to remedy Elizabeth's death sends him down a very dangerous path. His sanity dwindles as guilt and depression riddle his brain into a spiral of treacherous ideas. Jeffrey has become immoral, isolated, antisocial, and disconnected from reality. After a visit from his mother, Jeffrey sneaks off into his makeshift lab in the garage to recover an assortment of body parts, bathing in a purple toxic soup, including Elizabeth's decapitated head, for a deranged dinner, further proving Jeffrey's psychosis over a slice of Jersey pizza. In about 2 days, a storm will strike Jersey, allowing Jeffrey to finally put all the pieces together and return Elizabeth to the land of the living in a brand new, striking body. Although Jeffrey will still need new parts to complete his ghoulish task, and this is where the story genuinely takes a lurid turn. As the guilt begins creeping in, Jeffrey struggles with what he has to accomplish in order to give life back to Elizabeth. Murder, death. Someone has to die in order for the love of his life to breathe air again. Jeffrey can't think, he can't relax. He needs assistance, surgical assistance to calm his nerves. This guy is completely batshit insane as a power drill penetrates his skull and burrows deep into a section of his brain. This amateur form of trepanning calms Jeffrey down. He thinks, he plots, it's all carefully mapped into his warped mind. In order to meticulously put Elizabeth back together, Jeffrey will travel to New York City. Within the seedier parts of the Big Apple, a smorgasbord of fresh female bodies work the street. A variety of long legs and plump breasts are all for the taking. Pieces to complete Jeffrey's jigsaw puzzle consisting of all shapes and sizes. All the right parts in all of the right places. But in order for Jeffrey to gather 7 of the most beautiful women on the block, he first has to parlay with Zorro, their pimp and abusive crack dealer. An intimidating figure, Zorro owns all of the ladies on that block, his symbol branded onto their pretty flesh. Drugs, sex, and urine engulfs Jeffrey at every turn within the dingy bar. Jeffrey is nervous, more than usual. Honey, the energetic street worker, introduces Jeffrey to Zorro and the two shoot the shit. They talk business. Jeffrey's curiosity sparks an idea that involves turning Zorro's magic pills into a damn super crack to entice the women for nefarious reasons. Jeffrey has found a way to kill the women quickly and with little pain. Consuming the super-powered white ball will garner explosive results. The sick little bastard believes he's speeding up the process as the alluring horrors are already slowly killing themselves. That night, Jeffrey meets with Honey and is introduced to all of the meat in the slaughterhouse. Cosplaying as a doctor, Jeffrey ruses the women into a Fox medical exam, jotting down the pieces required for his perfect Elizabeth. One by one, Jeffrey inspects the women's parts like an avid toy collector. The sexy women all take a turn, showing off their goods, lusting for the dirty bread. Jeffrey's guilt begins creeping in as he's visibly apprehensive. With the ladies' time rapidly declining, guilt settles in, the hookers bitching and moaning while Jeffrey attempts to gather his thoughts. Frustrated and anxious, Jeffrey tosses the purse of money into Honey's greedy paws. The crispy bills quickly become an afterthought as the bag of super crack is discovered. The women flock to the candy like starving zombies as the abrasive Zorro waits downstairs impatiently at this point. Jeffrey attempts to warn the women not to smoke the crack, but his pleas fall on deaf ears. The snow coke infects the greedy clientele as ass cheeks and bouncy titties smear the motel room like a motley crew bender. The horny druggies begin to erupt from the inside in a massive case of spontaneous human combustion. A fuming Zorro gets blasted in the violent outburst by Honey's flying decapitated head. Within minutes, the shabby motel room is littered in bloody female body parts. Jeffrey nervously collects the pieces into trash bags, vowing to refurbish the woman once Elizabeth is restored. Upon choosing the perfect amalgamation of parts, Jeffrey stitches Elizabeth's head onto her newly constructed torso. The lightning begins to crash. Jeffrey hurries and readies Elizabeth's body into the perfect position, exposing it to nature's fury thrashing from above. Electricity zaps Elizabeth's corpse and spreads into Jeffrey's special storage fridge of the hooker's body parts, soaking in his special estrogen blood serum. The sheer power of the electrical current empowers Jeffrey's equipment, pumping more and more lightning into Elizabeth, attempting to shock her back to life. Very slowly, her body is lowered back into the makeshift laboratory. Jeffrey removes the sheet covering Elizabeth carefully, revealing the reanimated corpse twitching erratically, repeating the repetitive verbiage the prostitutes once spoke. Her once blonde head now a vibrant purple as her various mix of parts creak with their own distinct flavor. Elizabeth asks Jeffrey if he has any money and slaps the shit out of him when he answers no. Elizabeth escapes the basement as the freshly born Frankenhooker. Waddling off to the streets of New York in search of clients, Elizabeth acts from instinct, memories of the numerous women woven into her very fabric. Delinquents and tourists are puzzled while Elizabeth keeps asking for money, pushing for some action. Most assume she's drunk or on heavy drugs. New Yorkers are used to this sort of thing. You gotta be all sorts of messed up for the locals to find you strange. One unfortunate John agrees to a date and is fried from the inside out, leaving a sizzling array of flesh slumped onto the stained floor. Fucking Elizabeth, you're pretty much dead already. Like sticking your dick in a wall socket.
Got any money?
Meanwhile, a nervous and desperate Jeffrey searches for his beloved Frankenhooker. As Elizabeth traverses the piss-covered halls of the same dilapidated motel Zorro's girls met their untimely demise, another random sleazeball gets his brain sauteed before his entire head pops off his shoulders like a wine cork. While an anxious Jeffrey continues looking for Elizabeth, the stitched together abomination forces herself into Huevos Grande Bar and Grill, where Zorro mourns his bitches. Elizabeth shambles her way inside, attracting the attention of many patrons, including the fierce bartender Spike. A bowl of pretzels attracts Elizabeth like a moth to flame, falling back to earlier in the film when her mother's disdain for her daughter's weight was presented. Back at the bar, Elizabeth spews to some creepy weirdo more gibberish about Jersey Boy and Zorro, catching the attention of the hulking He-Man sulking at the bar. Zorro steps closer, his eyes glued to Elizabeth as she is taken to a more intimate area of the bar. The pervert at the table attempts to taste Elizabeth but is shocked to hazardous results. A panic spreads throughout Huevos Grande. Zorro grabs Elizabeth and shouts at her about Jeffrey and the Zorro tattoo on her foreign arm, clearly recognizing it's one of his girl's parts. Elizabeth fights back, but gets her head punched almost clean off her neck as it just dangles off her body by her stapled skin. Jeffrey rescues Elizabeth and brings her back home to his lab, while Zorro follows them both unbeknownst to the odd couple. Jeffrey puts Elizabeth back together, and in doing so, she reanimates and gets her own conscience back, not having any recollection of prior events after the lawnmower incident. Discovering she had been violently killed and brought back to life, Elizabeth is sullen in terror. Jeffrey explains his actions, and not surprisingly, Elizabeth is understanding of her man's selfish and vile decisions. Being that his blood serum is estrogen based, Jeffrey can only return women back from the dead. Elizabeth then realizes her parts aren't even her own. Jeffrey stammers. He proclaims he needed to make some adjustments as there wasn't much of Elizabeth left to fry and egg. As Jeffrey confesses his passion and love for Elizabeth, Zorro sneaks in from behind, and with Jeffrey's own blade, off comes the mad doctor's head, crashing onto the cold garage floor. Elizabeth freaks out. Zorro wants his property back. His horrors make up Elizabeth, and he will stop at nothing to claim what he believes is rightfully his. Meanwhile, the blood serum fridge door slightly opens. A feminine hand covered in a purple slime carefully lifts the lid. The fridge begins to shake vigorously, causing Zorro to take notice. The various body parts, now animated, spill onto the floor, spreading the colorful ooze all over the area, engulfing Jeffrey's severed head. The body parts within fused together during the lightning storm that brought back Elizabeth, causing the flesh to mutate into multiple organisms of nightmare fuel. What was once Zorro's bitches are now horrific, grotesque beasts who hunger for flesh. It's weird, creepy, unsettling. It's a Frank Henenlotter film. The creatures drag Zorro into the refrigerator, but before he is locked away, they make sure to steal his drugs too. All alone, Elizabeth is left with only Jeffrey's head. An idea sparks in her mind to revive Jeffrey as he did her. Since the serum only works on female parts, Jeffrey is alive and well, his head mounted onto a body composed of the remaining prostitute parts. Jeffrey agonizes over his new female body in absolute terror as Elizabeth proclaims her love for him, and now the two can be forever together as the monsters they are.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight.
While some have said that the movie is misogynistic, it does have a sense of female justice and empowerment. Frankenhooker had a hard time getting an R rating. Someone from the Picture Association called him to let him know congratulations on an S rating. When he asked if it was for sex, they said no, the S is for shit. Frank was concerned about what the studios were gonna say about the movie. You know what he said? If they don't want it, they can say no. And he carried on. And this is how you got Frankenhooker.
Jeffrey, want a date? Got any money? Zorro said you have 30 minutes with the gal you pick, but you gotta pick because the rest of us gotta go. Looking for some action? Need some company?
Granted, what I did may have been a bit unorthodox, but hey, you look